welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I have a show you should watch. I have a suggestion of a show, and it is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated shows of all time. It ended too soon. It had some more meat on that bone. Hannibal, starring Mads Mikkelsen. It's the show that really launched Mads Mikkelsen into like this new kind of like thought process, because before Hannibal, Mads Mikkelsen had been in many things. He had been in a lot of stuff, but he hadn't really been a lead in anything, and he hadn't really been thought of as someone who can play a villain, you know, like an elite level villain, like someone who's thought of that way. And this show changed that for everyone. It definitely changed that for me. So the story, the books of Hannibal Lecter, you know, Silence of the Lamb, Red Dragon, all that stuff. So there's always been like the books on Hannibal Lecter, you know, obviously Sir Anthony Hopkins' iconic performance as Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lamb. You know, so Hannibal Lecter has been around for quite some time. He's been a character that has many different depictions. He's had many different stories. He's had many different movies. Like Hannibal Lecter he's kind of like the icon. Like Hannibal Lecter is to serial killers what Sherlock Holmes is to detectives. That's how I feel about that character of Hannibal Lecter. He's the ultimate serial killer. He's the worst type of serial killer. This intelligent man who is literally eating people, but he's so intelligent and he's so good with it, and he's so intelligent and he's so what's the word I'm looking for? Charming and disengaging that like you wouldn't even know he was doing he could get away with it. You know what I mean? Like, he's the scariest type of serial killer like you can imagine. Someone who's doing this horrific thing, but is so smart, that's so clever, that's so witty, that's so, all these things that he could get away with it. And like I say, Sherlock Holmes, Hannibal Lecter is to serial killers what Sherlock Holmes is to detectives in terms of fictional characters, in my opinion. He's the greatest fictional serial killer of all time. So, in 2013, when NBC was going to make a show about Hannibal Lecter, you know, you kind of rolled your eyes at it because you didn't know what they were going for here. Is this going to be a sequel to the Silence of the Lamb movie that really launched the Hannibal Lecter character over the top? Is going to be a new interpretation, and like that's what they were saying. It's going to be a modern, new, kind of fresh interpretation of the character. And I got to say, starting up top with Mads Mikkelsen, the show begins and ends with his insanely charming, engaging, and terrifying performance. I've never been so conflicted about a character. How can a man be both inviting and terrifying all at the same time? Like, because he can talk to you, and he can talk through you. And it's so fucking scary because he's a fucking psychologist. And the more you get into the show, the more you realize that his sickness goes beyond just killing people and eating them. Like, it's far beyond that. And that's what the show presents. Oh, sorry. Dropped my phone. Is that his sickness is beyond just that. And Mads Mikkelsen does such a phenomenal job. It's one of those performances, every once in a while, an actor and a character just like hit. You know what I mean? And they become the most engaging thing on the screen. Like you just want to know what they think. You want to know what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's the Jack Sparrow. It's Johnny Depp's Jack Sparrow in the first Pirates of the Caribbean. It's Iron Man. It's Jack Burton and Big Trouble. It's every once in a while you get this character that just goes with the actor and the performance, and everything just kind of magically goes together to create a performance and a character that is so unique and so engaging, and you just wonder what they think about everything. In every situation in the show, you wonder where Hannibal is. You wonder what Hannibal thinks. You wonder what Hannibal's gonna do. And it's so, because you're not quite sure. There's this air of unpredictableness. The way, the looks and gazes in his eyes as he looks at you, he looks at everyone like a meal. And like, granted, they do play into the whole him eating people thing, because first season, I will say this though, the first 2 seasons are the best. The last 2 seasons, because there's 4 seasons of the show, it's on Hulu by the way too, but there's 4 seasons of the show. It's on Hulu and it's NBC, so I imagine it has to be on Peacock. But it's on Hulu. But the first 2 seasons were peak. The last 2 seasons were okay. Well, they were pretty good. I liked the 3rd season. The last season was okay. I don't think there was a bad season, but the first 2 seasons were definitely peak of the show. And the first season in particular, when we as the audience, because we know what Hannibal Lecter is, we know who he is, and Mads Mikkelsen's doing this great job. By the way, man, this show made me feel gross for one thing. And granted, it's not like they're actually using human bodies, but they're like using like, sub-ins. The way he prepares people, man, my word, he prepares people so good. I mean, that dude's a world-class chef. I'm telling you, but when you see a dish in front of you, he makes food, and the crazy thing is, he kills motherfuckers. And because the premise of the show is, because this is kind of a reimagining, is the main protagonist technically is Will Graham. He's like an investigator. Like he's one of those guys. He's like a forensics investigator. He's one of those guys who comes in and like looks at the scene and tells you what he thinks happened. Will has a special ability, or a special curse, as he would tell you, is that he has the ability to embody what the killer felt and completely get, because a lot of times when there's a serial killer, there's a death or something, most people go, it's hard because you can't, you're just guessing on the motivation, you're just guessing on their mindset, because you can't really wrap your mind around why they did what they did. Well, Will can, because Will can completely embody the actual killers, the actual people, and not see, and by also using his skills as a forensics, guy who can look at this stuff and kind of put the pieces together while embodying the mindset of the guy. He essentially can completely recreate the event, recreate the motivations. He can completely understand why that guy did what he did. But in process of doing that, embodying a killer, embodying those intense emotions that would come with killing people, it has had, let's say, profound effects on Will's psyche, so to speak, where sometimes he has a hard time disassociating with the serial killer that, he was embodying and just being himself, and he has difficult times with that. And Will, but he has skills. He has a real talent at it. He really is good at this. He really, no one's better in the way they frame it is, no one is better in the world than Will Graham at figuring out who a killer is. At doing this. And Lawrence Fishburne, who is in this, recruits Will to help him investigate some murders. Now, there are 2 murders. Now, at the first season, anyways, there's other murders happening, but Hannibal's also killing people at the same time. And those murders kind of get mixed together. But it is something entertaining to watch. This man have FBI agents, agents in his fucking, in his place over for dinner. And they're as he's helping them, because that's what Hannibal's doing. Hannibal is helping, he's helping Will, but he's helping Will, and in the process, he is helping the investigation of some of his own murders as he feeds these guys who are investigating his murders the people he has murdered. I mean, that's next level shit. It's one thing for the serial killer to be literally right in front of the officers and whatnot, but he's so good that even Will doesn't have an inkling of him, because he's an apex predator. And that's the vibe you get off of him, is he's an apex predator. He knows how to hide his shit well. He knows what to do, when to do it, what to say, what buttons to push, because he's a psychologist, so he knows what people look for. He knows how people's minds work. He's just a scary man. And the further the show goes on, the more scary he gets, because it's one thing for him to just be a really smart dude who's able to avoid the cops and stuff, but you discover some things about him and the shit that he's proceeding to do that's like, dude, he's next level scary. Like, he's not he's not just some dude. Like, this ain't some guy that the cops can just roll up on and take him. No, he is not that fucking dude. And like I said, I absolutely love this show. At least the first 2 seasons. Like, if you're gonna watch this show, watch the first episode of this show and tell me you're not hooked. Check out Hannibal. It's on Hulu, also on Peacock. All 4 seasons of it. Mads Mikkelsen's greatest performance. It's the thing that launched him to superstardom. The reason he got Grindelwald. It's the reason he got the Marvel role. It's the reason he got the Star Wars role. Is this role right here? It's probably the reason. Is this role right here really did launch him? Because like you really, I didn't know he could be like like that's such a magnetic character. Like I can't wrap around my feet. Like it's terror, but engaging. It's like staring at a tiger through a cage. That's the best description of Hannibal's character in this show. It's like being in a shark tank and the shark's right staring dead in front of you. Like it's like looking at the tiger right there behind the cage. Like it's just this fierce, scary great white shark motherfucker just hiding underneath this calm and dapper and well-dressed and well-spoken and well-mannered man who, at any moment, snap your fucking neck and make you into a goddamn souffle. I love this show. Anyways, if you guys are into like the more thriller aspects or horror aspects, like it's not horror, it's more of a thriller. But yeah, I would check out Hannibal. Total underrated show. No one ever talks about it anymore. I loved it. Thank you guys for joining the Copy Game Movie Show again. And that's my show I think you should watch. Anyways, see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.